Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do you want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. I'm Anthony, aka Rasta. This is Get Right Fantasy Network, and I'm here with my boys on this Friday night of July 26th for another episode of Friday Night Mocks. That means only 41 more days until week 1, and we have actual Hall of Fame game in just 6 more days. Gentlemen, I'm here. No classic tonight, as you see. But I got my boy here, Phil, from the Extra Point. What up, Phil? How you doing? Welcome.
What up, what up, what up? Yesterday was the last Thursday of no football until the playoffs. Let that sink in.
Let's go. Let's go. And also joined by the one, the only, Mr. Kendall from the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's up, Kendall? Happy to have you here on Friday. It's been a little while.
It has been. Little vacay, but we're back. We are very, very much back, ready for Caleb Williams and my Chicago Bears to win a couple games of football. Let's go.
Let's go, man. Let's get excited. Where everyone's hopes are at the highest, the expectations are there. No one gets more excited right now. Every fan base has a chance still to make it to the big game.
Undefeated right now.
You have your story. It's there. Let's get this thing going, man. For those of you guys who don't know that might be joining us here for the first time, this is our Friday Night Mocks. Here on Fridays, we do our mock drafts. We've done different types leading up to this point. Now in August, actually, as we turn the page, we're going to start getting into our mock draft tournament. So that's what we'll be doing on Fridays. We'll get into that in a little bit later. But tonight is the last redraft mock we're doing here of the off season, technically, just as far as being able to grade it here on Monday nights, which is what we'll do there. But moving forward, we will be announcing, the top 3 that advance. And again, we'll get into all that more. So just be sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe button for us, man. That really helps us out as we continue to grow. And make sure you guys join that sleeper community. It's down in the description because that's where you'll find those lobbies for the mock draft tournament as well. So let's get those sleeves rolled up, man. I know these guys are in here ready to get this mock going. So while I bring up the screen, man, I'll let Kendall tell you guys a little more about this mock draft tournament of champions here on Get Right Fantasy Network. Go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, first mock draft tournament for me. Love what you guys are putting together. This is pretty exciting. I'm super happy to be a part of it. Rasta, thank you so much for putting on this wonderful thing. You and Classic and all at Get Right. It's gonna be super fun. So we are gonna be running 4 weeks of mock drafts. It's gonna be I think four different qualifiers each week. Each of the mock drafts, the top 3 in each of the mock drafts is going to move on as voted by us. And then they're going to get into the semifinals after those 4 weeks. And then in the semifinals, top 3 is moving on. It is going to consolidate down to one 12-man league. We are going to run a best ball league at that point. And the winner of that 18-round best ball league, straight up best ball scoring settings like normal, is going to take home $50 cash, but much more important, the title of mock draft champion. So get excited. If you need a refresher on the rules or anything like that, feel free to hop in, jump into our sleeper channel. Rasta and Classic have everything put up there. Always happy to answer any questions, but definitely hop in. We got the first week of mocks are already laid out for everybody, and we'll keep dropping those week by week as we go. So get it right.
For sure. Well said, man. You nailed that. That was better than anything I do. I just usually confuse people when I say that, but you did that very well. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna keep having you do that if you don't mind. I'm gonna have to just take that whole clip and just play it, the audio for it as like a little commercial I'll make there. So well done, man. I'm super excited for the mock tournament, man. Our 4th year doing it. Glad you're gonna be a part of it this year. I text earlier and I told you probably were gonna be more excited to. Well, I thought you actually would try to want to get in there and beat it, but obviously, you like being able to grade it and be part of the judging panel. So we're happy to have you guys here, man. So again, you guys will have all of us judging that thing. We're going to score it. Basically, the highest, top 3 that score are going to be able to advance, man. So I'm real excited. It just helps makes the mock season go by. It just helps just gets us to actual football. So let's get into this draft, man. We got this thing going. Phil, do you know what kind of draft we're doing here tonight?
What you trying to say, man? You trying to say I'm not paying attention? What's going on with you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm the one who's on the clock still talking, so that's why I wanted to throw it to you so I can make a pick and make sure I know what's going on.
Superflex, 3 wide receiver, full PPR. And I can see here Brandon in the chat saying ain't done a Superflex redraft in a minute. This is why we do these, man. I mean, this is great practice, right? Like not everybody's in the same settings. Not everyone's in single quarterback leagues. So always good to mix it up and practice and do some different drafts. The only thing I think you all need to make sure you understand, regardless if it's a mock or real, is please understand your scoring settings. We say it every single week, but like 4-point, 6-point passing touchdown, it does make a difference.
Yes.
So you look at obviously Patrick Mahomes, DJ Stroud coming off the board here. Maybe Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson could be in consideration to go a little bit higher because of the rushing upside in 4-point versus 6-point, where you're looking at just total touchdowns. So those are the little nuances that can make a difference in your league. Obviously, there's really no bad picks in the first round, but it could be the difference between being a playoff team and, being a championship team. And there's a big difference there. So yeah, excited to see how this turns out tonight and see what some of these teams start to take shape here as we get into the 3rd and 4th rounds.
For sure. Well said. And as you guys may see, I'm drafting here out of the 11 spot here tonight. We have Phil drafting here out of the 3 spot. And our boy Kendall's just kind of playing referee, if you will, or just kind of bird's eye view overseeing this whole thing. So he'll be able to really break this thing down for us, ask us some questions, what we're thinking as we go along. So again, we hope you guys enjoy the show. So I'll throw it over to you. Just take it away, Kendall. I'll make my pick here. And what do you see so far here in this draft?
Jalen Hurts going off the board at the 101. Very interesting, kind of a spicy take there. Favorite pick in the first round. Gotta love Dem Boys. Anthony Richardson at the 108. Really, really loving that. But Rasta, after watching all the episodes of Receiver,
yes,
getting ASB at the 111, I couldn't believe it took you that long, man. I think you had to take a little peek over at Jay Jetta's, but
it was, man, because they're both on the episode, so I'm kind of like, oh, it's so tough. But I was like, let me think ahead. I was like, let me just target Goff as maybe my QB1, QB2, most likely probably QB1, the build that I just went with right now with running back, wide receiver, and a super flex. So I'm feeling a little interested. It's easy to take the quarterback at this point. I like to put myself in these type of situations to see, how it's going to fall and see if I can build something, in this competitive room. So yeah, so
but I do think that the way that the board shows right now, obviously we're only a couple, picks into the 2nd round, but as you look at the turn here, we'll start with you, Rasta, at the 11 and then into the 12. Other than maybe Kyler Murray, I do think the skill position guys are probably the better values at that point. I think the quarterback tier break is coming up if it hasn't happened already. So for me, it's an opportunity to kind of, I won't say pivot because it's the 1st and 2nd round, but it is an opportunity to go and grab some guys there that other guys aren't going to have. That's ceiling performance from your wide receiver and ceiling performance from your running back.
Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with you, Phil. I haven't gotten fully into all the redraft prep right now, but definitely looked at a couple of things, and it definitely seems to at least me that there are some fantastic values late at quarterback this year that I haven't really seen in a long time, and they're all extremely stackable as well. Right now, I mean, Jared Goff going as late as he is on a projected number 2 offense, according to Vegas, playing all those games inside of the dome. He's looking like an elite pick outside of the top 10. Stafford, if Kupp is healthy, goes, well outside the top 12 quarterbacks. He's looking like he's pretty good late. Herbert's kind of forgotten. I don't think he's dust. These are names that, in their prime, were obviously going a lot earlier. I don't know.
It wasn't too long ago that Herbert was like the QB2 overall in Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, precisely. So I don't know. I've done some drafts where I'm hardcore going. I'm fading tight end and I'm fading quarterback just to see how far I can push it.
Yep.
And I feel like even when I push it to the absolute brink, I still feel like there's room to give. So I'm curious to see if anyone in this mock. I mean, we mock for a reason, right? We want to practice. We want to try some different strats out, and it's hard to find mock against great competition. There's some very good drafters here. Obviously, we all draft together quite often. So I'm hoping we see at least one or two rosters that are really trying to push late QB and really focus on positional value and see how that compares to a build, like Kuda's, who's obviously grabbing 2 elite quarterbacks. So we'll see how that plays out. I think in the grading process, Rost. I think you're gonna have a good time with this one.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say too, is the fact that Frank and I have been grading these things on Monday nights and really breaking them down and having an opportunity to really kind of dive in there, look at ADP, look at different builds and how people are building things, kind of figuring out what, player grouping that fits, the player pool that you're looking for in your drafts. Because obviously we have people who are on our do not touch list. And then of course the ones we're trying to target and finding out where we can get the best value with those guys. And one of the big things that stuck out to me when we were, Frank and I were grading just this last Monday was when you're at this 12, 11, 12 spot, you need to be able to zag when everybody else is zigging. You have to find and make up that positional advantage. I can't just go pick quarterbacks right there because I'm getting the bottom of the tiers or top of lower tiers there. So when there's an opportunity to get someone like Brees or get someone like Amon-Ra, where you're pushing that potential, player over one overall at their position, like that's what I need to be able to go for. That's the upside that I need to get to be able to make my roster competitive with the people that have the earlier picks. So you can't just follow suit with people, what they're doing ahead of you. You need to be able to be fluid and then understand what targets you're looking for later, so you don't get yourself, in a tough situation. So we'll see if I'm able to pull it off, because I got Brian G and Scully here right after me, or I think it's Brandon. My fault. I'm sorry to call you Brian, but it's Brandon. He's kind of pushing the same thing with me here, and then we have Shaw Dog doing it kind of in the middle. When that quarterback tier dropped off, he went for a wide receiver, of course, here in a 3 wide receiver league. So I'm just, obviously we're starting to geek out, man, and really start breaking these things down. It's getting exciting.
All right, so I got the first question for you guys. This one has been coming up a lot in my redraft prep, that it's one of those things where the players are actually not ridiculously far off in Dynasty. I mean, they're far off, but then you get into redraft, and this is Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. All right, so the Vegas projections, basically, if you translate them to fantasy, has Jonathan Taylor being a better draft pick than Jahmyr Gibbs. But he's not quite as sexy. How are you guys, if you find yourself you kind of have to be usually at the top 6 picks to kind of have a shot at either of them, where the board typically falls, but they typically go pretty close to each other. How do you guys rank Gibbs versus Taylor, and who are you taking if it's pretty close?
I have 2 answers for this, but I'll default here to Phil.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't mind me going first, just because it's actually, the answer is right. If you look at the board with Uno Gas right in front of me coming back around in the second, I was going to grab Gibbs had he fallen there. Obviously, he didn't. Here's why I'm going to take Gibbs. Number one, I believe the offense of the Lions will be better than the Colts. So from a points per game perspective, you have to think that that's going to translate well. The other opportunity, right? Yeah. The other piece for me is going to be quite simply the pass catching upside for Gibbs and the touchdown upside for Gibbs, because Goff is not going to vulture touchdowns, right? So look, JT doesn't have the competition. Monty is a 1B to Gibbs is 1A. So you can make that argument and poke holes in it all you want, but JT's competition is Richardson. So while I think that JT is going to get obviously the lion's share of that work, at the end of the day, Anthony Richardson could vulture those touchdowns. And if JT's touchdowns aren't there, his yardage will be there. I just feel like Gibbs at the end of the day is going to have the pass catching upside. He's going to get some touchdowns. And there's just not a lot of, Monty has missed games, even though Monty's fantastic. So it's close, but I would still have Gibbs in redraft just slightly ahead of JT.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I'll try to make the devil's advocate case, but you took everything kind of, out of my sail.
We always think
just
alike
with
anyway.
Exactly. But how I can answer that just kind of in a different light, I think you have to take Gibbs first, because he does have that name upside, and just as an asset and a potential player. If you're in that spot where it's either good value or that's that pick that you need to make at that point, I don't feel comfortable reaching for JT over Gibbs because I feel like you can even get Gibbs and take a guy that you take late, pair him with something, and maybe even, potentially move up to someone like a Bijan or somebody like that, a Brees, maybe even a CMC here in a redraft, depending on how the CMC team, drafts, so to speak. So it kind of gives you a little more flexibility at that point. I mean, JT is definitely still, an option as well. Obviously, they're going back to bat, so all we're really doing is trying to really split hairs. But yeah, I mean, just from a pure explosive upside, I mean, this guy can score from the 50, so it's not like he needs those goal line touches. He's shifty, and I mean, you hit it on the head. Goff's not running, so he's going to dump down. We've seen it, and they're talking about increasing, him more. And it's his second year. He's settled. He's know what he did. They did a deep playoff run. Like, he's going to come back better. And this team they have something to prove, and I think that's something that is there as well too. Like, they're hungry, like they're striving. And they're going to want to try to blow people out. Like, they want to win every game. They're going to put up points. So I think you have to go Gibbs there. But again, that's why they're basically going back.
Well, and look, Gas saying here they're going to use Gibbs in the slot more. And if, look, it's camp, it's coach speak. Everyone's got the camp hype. But I read a report today that said Gibbs didn't go to practice. He went to wide receiver practice. So look, we know that he's going to catch the ball. We have seen it for the whole season. We know what kind of a player he is, but
and maybe that's Debo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe that's a piece where they're saying, like, look, can we get Monty and Gibbs on the field together more and line Gibbs up in that slot as a decoy, as an actual, playmaker? It doesn't matter. But to me, at the end of the day, Anthony Richardson's upside is his running. And Shane Steichen talking today about, I'm not afraid to use him because they asked about the injury in the shoulder. And he's like, I'm not afraid to use him as a runner. So we haven't seen JT and Richardson together yet, but yeah, I think it's Gibbs for me. And at the end of it all, they're probably going to finish, assuming everything presumes health, but they'll probably finish pretty close to each other. But yeah, it's going to be hard for me to pass on Gibbsy.
I like it. Hey, y'all know I'm a huge Gibbs fan. Love the takes. So it looks like we had like a little mini. This is, I think this is probably one of the more. Lots of folks are very okay going a little bit later on the quarterbacks. I love seeing.
It's a good competitive group. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it seems like a group that is reading the room very well. The room is reading itself very well. And as soon as one person is okay fading at QB, you're seeing a lot of other folks do that. Really love Devin Achane at the 412 there. That pretty fantastic value for me. So I guess it's the second one. So in this draft, we saw several players look at Achane and then still take this. Okay, let's see
I have to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I have to do this. It's a mock draft, but there's no choice. Sorry, I just took this. Sorry, Kendall. I had to do it.
Let's go.
I had to do it. Get
the stack in the 5th. That's great value.
And Pacheco.
Well, that is Superflex, so
it's
still not bad value.
Yeah. Sorry, Kendall. I just completely interrupted your
No. Hey,
Sorry,
I'm
brother.
cool. I'm cool getting interrupted for some spice there. I like it. We can actually roll into some tight end takes here, which is pretty interesting. What are your thoughts? And then Swanson, if you can hop in the chat too. What are you guys' thoughts on Laporta's pretty consistently going in the 3rd, and then the next group of tight ends is going in the 5th? What range are you guys kind of targeting based on what you've been seeing lately? You've got Laporte in the 3rd, you've got the top guys, the next tier in the 5th, and then it kind of trickles down. You've got your like mid-level right after that with like Njoku Ingram, and then you've got your super late round stuff. So in this particular format, what do you guys think if you're going into the draft? Obviously, we're staying water, but if you kind of had to draw it up, what are some scenarios that you find preferable?
Go ahead, Rasta.
All right, so I'll try to answer this quick before my pick. So for me, I kind of think of it in a certain way. Once I feel comfortable in my wide receiver room, or where I feel like I can, get some later guys and I'm ready to turn maybe to some other positions. It's different in Superflex and redraft for me. But usually if one of, McBride, Laporta, Andrews, Kelsey, if they fall to me as like the tight end 4 or 5 off the board, I'm usually pulling the trigger. So that's why I'm in a tough spot right now. Like if McBride makes it to me here in this pick, because I am on a quick turn like this, and I have some flexibility with a few wide receivers I'm still okay with here. I would go McBride, but if he goes McBride like you just did right there, maybe he's watching, then to me it's an easy pick for Devonta Smith as my wide receiver 3. So there you go. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I on brand for me is normally late tight end. The problem I think this season with late tight end is I think there's a massive tier break after Kyle Pitts goes. So I'm almost punting if I miss out on that. And I'll be honest, to me, the whoever goes, you see it as McBride here, but whoever goes before Pitts is probably where I end my tier break. I think the Pitts hype is real. Again, it's the best quarterback he's ever played with, but it's hard for me because we just haven't seen it. So I'm targeting Dalton Kincaid. I'll be very transparent. Kendall, you know that. You and I do a lot of work together. You know how I feel about Kincaid, 300 and whatever, I forget it is, 300 plus targets vacated in that offense, right? We all want Coleman to be good. We don't know if he'll be good, but we expect that Cook and Kincaid will take the lion's share of those, will soak up those targets. So I think Dalton Kincaid has I won't say outside chance because he's a very good player, but I do think he has a realistic chance to finish the season as tight end 1. I'd rather go and get him in the 5th. You see Laporta going in the 3rd. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. 10 touchdowns last year for Laporta. That's what pushed him up the board to tight end 1. If he doesn't repeat that, and we do expect touchdown regression, I just don't see him returning that investment in the 3rd round. I just don't. And I don't think he finishes as tight end 1 again this season. So to me, I'd rather target, a 4th, 5th round tight end or punt and just kind of go and find Cole Kmet. Right, like I'd be fine with Cole Kmet. I'd be fine with Dallas Goedert. I'd be fine with Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson to me is a great mid to late round tight end because there's nobody else other than CD in Dallas to catch the ball. So if you're looking for a mid to late, maybe 7th, 8th round, Jake Ferguson would be a fantastic play.
I like it. Good stuff. We'll have to, maybe we'll do some 2v2s later on. I'll be curious when we get later on in the board where some other tight ends go off. We'll have to test. We'll have to test your Kelsey pick. If you didn't take Kelsey, Ruskin, what was your what would have been your pick after that?
I would have probably taken Debo. Yeah.
So we'll do some 2v2. So it would have been Kelsey and whoever you take later versus I know the range of tight ends that you like. We'll do some 2v2s and see. So Debo was my next question. So I think Debo went way late in this draft compared to what I'm seeing in basically every other format, and he's
Devonta Smith too, Kendall. I would have also taken. Honestly, it would have been between Debo and Devonta Smith there. So I think Rasta getting him at basically the 5-6 turn that's a steal.
Yeah, that's Rasta's draft really seems to be coming together quite nicely with Waddle and Smith, 2 of my absolute favorite picks there.
I love those
what
picks
do you
year.
guys think about San Fran's offense? Obviously, everyone's draftable. What do you guys think of Ayuk versus Debo kind of in general? I'm mostly going off of like in best ball ADP right now. Ayuk goes before Debo, but they're usually within about half a round to a full round of each other. It's not too far off. Debo seems like everyone wanted to fade him last year, and that was a good decision. If he's healthy, we know he can finish, honestly, as a top 3 wide receiver. We've seen it before. What do you guys think? Is he a late value? What are our thoughts on Debo and honestly some of these wide receivers that are dropping this far? Let's go to Rasta here. I'll call him out so you guys don't have to pick too much. Phil's got a pick coming up. Rasta, what are you thinking about Debo?
All right, so I don't like either of the San Francisco wide receivers where they're going. I don't know if it's just because that's my team and it just it's a little different. I mean, CMC I'll draft at his ADP. 100 times out of 100, maybe 99 because I do take CD Lamb every once in a while in a best ball at the 101. But that's just for build's sake. But in a redraft, I mean, CMC is my 101, and I like other wide receivers that I feel that have potential higher upsides without injury. So I seem to just be targeting different wide receivers at that range. Now I do have like a couple best ball drafts where I do have that build in there, but I end up just kind of staying away. I'm usually never in a position, or because I think that tier where Debo and Ayuk kind of are in is such a flat tier and there's so many names in there, you can kind of just pick other guys and you don't feel like you're really missing out on too much. Is just kind of how I kind of see that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's difficult because they are so close together. Obviously, in this draft, you see them going on almost exactly a round apart. I just think there's 2 things that would maybe make the difference that I have to consider. Number one is the usage of Debo in the offense being an everything, kind of that gadget player, right? And if you're we're talking about receiver. But if you're watching receiver, you're talking or listening to Kyle Shanahan talk about Debo and how they use him and how teams have to game plan for him. Yeah, get the ball in his hands, right? Like it's just so difficult to defend him with his yak ability. I think there's two sides to the coin with Brandon Ayuk. Number one, he's playing for a contract, so he's going to have a great season. The other side of that coin is he's grumpy as can be because he didn't get the contract he thought he was going to get. And what's his attitude going to be like? Because we've seen him get doghoused before. We've seen Kyle Shanahan say, I don't care. You're not practicing hard enough. You're not working it hard enough. You're not going to play. So I'm probably on the same side as Rasta. Is like, I'd rather stay away. But for my wide receiver 3, fired up all day, right? Like if that's, and the other piece, the last piece I said, there was 2 pieces of information. It depends on what I'm looking at. Is this a super flex league or is this a single quarterback? If it's single quarterback, I'm fine taking either one. If it's super flex, because I got to take that quarterback early, I'll probably find value later on with a different receiver.
I shouldn't have done that.
Well, looks like we got some regrets with the Geno pick.
Well, it's a drafting 101. I mean, the guy in the turn already has his 2 quarterbacks. I doubt he's taking a QB3 at this point. Maybe. But usually that's a risk you have to be willing to take and take my position player there and then come back around and get Geno there. Because that's who I was kind of thinking. I wanted Kamara there. Either Kamara or Godwin.
What do you guys, so obviously
Godwin here.
Kamara, obviously in Dynasty is losing all of his value.
Yeah.
But in redraft, so we had some recent news, some coach speak on Kendra Miller, giving him a little bit of shade on his number one thing he needs to work on is being available to actually play some football.
Yeah.
Pretty damning words from the coach. What's that doing to Kamara in your eyes? Are you just buying the dip on Kendra, saying he'll figure it out now that his ADP is going to be depressed? Or is this a chance where Kamara going at the 7-12, he's going, above committee backs like Monty. He's going above other injury-prone guys with question marks like Aaron Jones and terrible offenses like Ramondre Stevenson is in. Is Kamara hyper value for you? What do you think?
I was going to jump in just because Roster was on the clock, but he's off.
Yeah,
the
you're
clock
good.
Quick. I think you have to, Kendall, you and I do a ton of Dynasty together. I think you have to remember, and we did a little bit of this on my show last night, talking about Dynasty through a redraft lens. James Conner, still the starter in Arizona, even though Trey Benson is the new hotness. Alvin Kamara, still the starter in New Orleans, even though Kendra Miller is, I don't know if he's the new hotness, but people want him to be there. And I think that's something to remember. It's that there's guys that you have name fatigue on. You've probably been burned by in the past, but Alvin Kamara can give you a 6-touchdown Christmas Day game. And look, it's Derek Carr, right? Like, it's not sexy. Derek Carr. Like, let's just call a spade. So you've got Chris Olave.
King, though, man.
That's what I mean. So, like, that favors Kamara. At the end of it all, I don't want Kamara anywhere on any of my Dynasty rosters, but I don't know who it is for Gian Scully here to grab him at the 7 turn as his second running back, to go with Bijan. I think that's great value. The one thing you have to say about Kamara is he catches the ball. That's where I think last year, if my memory's right, I'll stat check myself in a minute. I think he only had like 680 rushing yards. So his entire fantasy production came from catching the ball. And that's obviously in a full PPR. That's what you want. That's what you should be targeting. So yes, in Dynasty, we don't want James Conner. 694. There you go. See, we don't want James Conner and we don't want Kamara, but in redraft for one season, absolutely give them to me. They're still a starter.
75 catches. He had more points in PPR with just his receptions alone than he did his rushing yards.
There you go.
I like it. So let's look at the board here a little bit. So looks like team 2, Mr. J Win. We typically like his drafts. He's the only one still standing pat with 1 QB. When it looks like, does anyone have 3 yet? No, everyone is standing pat on 2. I can't actually see the who's left on the board. Who's left at quarterback right now?
Phil's on the clock, so I'll read it off to you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. All right, so Will Levis, McCarthy, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Drake May, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. Bo Nix, Minshew Fields.
So that'll be interesting to watch to see if Jay Wynn's draft comes together. Curious if Jay Wynn, if you can hop in the chat, do you have some? You can wait until after you make a couple picks, but if you have some late QB, do you have some late QB targets that you really you don't mind waiting forever because you think they're going to be pretty good, or is it just kind of the strategy this year? I'm really curious. Maybe we can hear from Jay Wynn in chat here. Looks like
There's a
kind of
question
almost
from
agree
the
with this.
chat in the draft. He says, "Is Burrow and Cousins build too risky?" Sorry to cut you off there.
Say that question again.
Is a Burrow and Cousins build too risky as far as injury risk in a super?
I don't think so. I mean, look, anybody can get hurt on any play. Let's just put that out there, right? Like it's, I mean, it's
like a Roger.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say like, oh, this guy, that. Like, I don't think that's too risky. In fact, I think there's a discount on both players, and to me, I mean, I'm in on Joe Burrow this season. I like it. I mean, I don't say the downside. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. please stand up.
Please stand up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's important to know too. The majority of quarterback injuries, the vast majority of them, are just like random stuff happened. Right? It was just that one play at the right time where the right thing happened, compared to a lot of other pure athletic injuries where they're exerting themselves, the non-contact stuff, just those sorts of sprains from highly athletic people just going crazy and later on. Quarterbacks, I don't buy the injury proneness to quarterbacks. They rarely have soft tissue injuries. It just doesn't happen as often. Now you could say Burrow has like the chance of re-injury to a similar injury, or let his body like not compensate the right way because he's coming off of a fresh injury. But at the same time, even people that aren't injured, they're still beat up, right? There's a pretty thin line between injured and I've been playing injured. Like when you watch shows like Receiver and you hear like, oh, this player was way more injured than anybody thought, didn't have an injury designation, but played injured. ASB, did he have an injury designation all year? I don't remember anything. And yet you see Receiver and you're like, well, that wasn't the case. Right?
Tore his hip off something. Tore his
whole, yeah.
Yeah. It's like
oblique off the bone.
Yeah, exactly. Oblique, yeah. Yeah, I actually think, and look, it's Superflex, so the quarterbacks are pushed up the board, obviously. But where is Joseph? At the second round. Yeah, I mean, to me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So still going off the board is QB7, so not a huge discount. I would probably take Kyler Murray over Burrow and Prescott just because the rushing upside. And I'm, as a Niners fan, it hurts me to say this, but I'm kind of in on the Cardinals and what they're doing. I like their team a lot this year from a fantasy perspective. So, but look, Joe Burrow, like he's going to be good. That team's got a lot of, you have Jamar Chase, throw it up there and let him go get it. Like he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree. The straight up. So question for you guys, right? One of the common things that we study is like the quarterback like value over replacement, or VOR as a stat, right? The idea is generally outside of the super elite tier that really only started since about like 2020, 2022, where like Hurts started doing his thing. All these rushing quarterbacks, this elite upside started to happen. Previous to then, the difference between the quarterback 7 and the quarterback 12 was just paper thin. It was nothing, right? So the strat at that point was go for the positions where you can gain a significant, value over replacement compared to quarterback. Has the recent, ability to have pretty elite upside at quarterback changed your guys' sort of draft philosophy on really wanting to hit on, I'll bring up the comment here, really wanting to hit on 2 top 12 quarterbacks? Or do you think it's just easier? We've gotten better at judging high upside players late, and we've also gotten better at judging, particularly at the wide receiver position, guys that are just going to maintain an elite range. How do you balance quarterback early to go for that elite upside versus going with, I think, a commodity that we're actually better at ranking, which is, top end wide receivers and running backs, particularly wide receivers? What do you guys think? Roster's on the clock. So Phil, what do you think?
I mean, you guys know this stat because we do a lot of work together, but I'll say it again for the listeners who maybe don't. 66 different quarterbacks started an NFL game last year. Joe Flacco was a second half of the year league winner. So Jersey J, I understand the logic. I get it. I know it's dynasty and we're talking about redraft tonight, but you guys know this. I won a championship with Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson got benched going into the playoffs, and I had to start Jarrett Stidham with Jordan Love because Anthony Richardson got hurt. So yes, anybody can get hurt on any play, but what is the ceiling upside? And if the logic is that you have to have 2 top 12 quarterbacks, it's physically impossible, right? It's not going to, like, you mathematically, you'd have to draft at the turn, basically both of those guys. So sure, like somebody could emerge late, but to me, the wide receivers, they're going to score, they're going to get touchdowns. And at the end of the day, I think you need one true ceiling quarterback and then go and get some ceiling from your running back or wide receiver room, or go and get a onesie position at the tight end where you have a true differentiator. 66 quarterbacks played last year. And I'll be honest, I think that number is going to be pretty close again this year. I mean, it's guys get hurt. And yes, we've said it, guys, anybody, there's not injury prone. Anybody can get hurt on any play, but like, there's just, to me, I think there's guys that, like Matt Stafford, who is this in Flag RJ's team here, like Joe Burrow with Matt Stafford. I think that's a great quarterback room. People are sleeping on the Rams offense. Matt Stafford for one season with Puka, with Cooper Kupp, with Kyron in a Sean McVay offense. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great quarterback room.
What's crazy about that is you're saying people are sleeping on Stafford, but yet you have one of their wide receivers going in basically the first round and one QB, and you have the second one not too far behind it, like in the third and fourth, like 3-4 turn. So are we? I don't know why we're technically sleeping on, like, we're not sleeping on him based on where we're drafting his wide receivers, but where we're drafting him as a quarterback, we're sleeping on.
I think it's the age. I think it's people are, I mean, it's a great point. It's 100% correct. There's the logic doesn't make sense, because you're absolutely right. Like, these guys, by that logic, with the 2 skill position players who are catching passes, Stafford should be going at least a round or 2 higher. But it's hard.
All right, so I got a bit of an observation here, just because without drafting, I just get to read the board and be Neo in the Matrix here. So one thing that strikes me in particular, I'm going to talk about the running back position. So if you want to take a quick perusal at like the round 7 RBs, we got like Jones, Monty, Ramondre, Kamara, right? I'm going to look down to round the 9-10 turn right there, where we've got that big block. In my opinion, I'll get a little opinionated as the observer here. I'm not seeing a massive. I think several of these guys are in the same tier in the 10th round as the 7th. What are your guys' takes? Are there some lessons here just from this mock that you might take away a little bit? Is this you're seeing what's on the board at 7? It should you just be waiting a little bit more when some names pop up in the 7th and 8th, knowing that the 9th and 10th is going to be just fine too? For the most part, what are our thoughts here?
Go ahead, Rasta, because I'm about to be on the clock here.
So for me, I was kind of considering James Conner at the what is that, in the 8th. To me, after James Conner is kind of a little bit of a drop off there, like a little tier break, and I felt the wide receiver tier break was a little more. And I was happy to come back around and still get Warren and Spears to basically double down on what you're saying. I didn't feel like I needed to grab one of those running backs in that spot, especially, considering I made the early tight end pick, and then I grabbed I had to grab my second quarterback, maybe not necessarily where I wanted, but it was a necessity at that point. But yeah, I mean, I feel like pretty much after Spears, though, I feel there's another teardrop there. So I was happy to really actually snag those 2 with Brees as my RB1.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, to me, a lot of these guys, more than a couple, are in the same tier. It's so hard with some of these guys, like Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, literally going back-to-back picks, like Spears going almost a full round ahead of Pollard. Like, that's a difficult one as well. So I think we've all talked about this, like looking at some of these hero RB builds. Like Rasta, your team's a great example. Gian Scully right next to you is a great example. Like, go get Brees, go get Bijan, and then figure it out later.
Right.
To me, that's the strategy, regardless of format, single quarterback or super flex. I just think you're gonna have a better season. You're gonna have more fun. Like, there's just more, I think, that's gonna be of value with those top 5, maybe 6 guys. I wasn't paying attention. Poor Gus Bus. Bye, Gus.
I saw that happen as you were talking, and I was like, he's going to be sad when he realizes that.
I was between him and Dobbs, and I was like, Gus will get back to me. It's only 4 players, and whoops, that's why we mock. Should have taken it in the other order. Romeo Dobbs will be good. I think he'll be a good season for him.
Dude, you guys forget J.K. Dobbins has more ACLs than cats have lives.
That is
all right.
true.
He's buying them off the black market like it's nothing.
I talked about him in either as the last draft or the last one. I'm grabbing him in best ball like crazy. He's literally free and could be the RB1 over there.
Some of those. So we talked about this last night on my show. So I'll put my link in the channel here for those that want to go listen to it. We talked about kind of this ambiguous running back rooms, ambiguous wide receiver rooms. Austin Eckler going a full round ahead of Brian Robinson, I think, is actually probably the right order. I think Eckler's going to be the RB1 there at some point this season, whether it's through injury or whether it's just the fact that, gosh, my brain just went blank. Anthony Lynn is the running game coordinator there in Washington. And obviously that's his old coach from Los Angeles Chargers. So to me, Eckler's pass catching upside is great, but these ambiguous running back rooms are hard to draft. The answer, I think, in redraft is try and stay away as much as possible. Like I just took Brian Robinson, but I took him as my RB4. I'm okay with that, right? Like I don't want to grab somebody that's in an ambiguous situation as my RB2 where I have to worry, like, is it going to be like Pollard and Spears? Like Rasta, you took Spears as your RB3, but you have Jalen Warren. Like that's going to cause you some headaches, man. Like it's a mock draft, but like to me, that's the challenge, is trying to figure out who has the touchdown upside, whose week is it going to be, and that's where I think it's not sexy, but player like Devin Singletary, he's going to be the guy for a while. And if he's not, it's because he's not good or he gets hurt. But, like Kamara, I go back to Kamara.
Yeah, but that offense isn't going to score anything. That's what I'm worried about.
That's the downside.
Like
that's the downside.
Even a much better running back in Saquon Barkley had kind of down years just because of limited upside, let's say, because of just the competency of the offense. But yeah, so.
But if you're getting late round value, I mean, like at this point, we're not grabbing upside, ceiling, going to be the starter. I mean, like you're grabbing guys that are depth pieces at this point, right? Like that's the whole point. So I think it's a good depth piece, right? Like I'm not building around it in Singletary. So yeah, I think it's tough, man, because these ambiguous wide receiver rooms and these ambiguous running back rooms will keep you up at night. So
well, and this is why I love drafting that, because like again, that's why I call them lotto tickets. When you guys hear us talk about it on Monday nights, you want to just grab some lotto tickets late in the draft because they can hit, and if not, they're easy drops for you to take the easy waiver wire guy. The last thing you want is to be, in a situation where you feel like you need to hold them. They're maybe not worth dropping because you feel like their upside's there, but just you're stuck if they're not producing.
Yep.
So, it's nice to just kind of take your shot with guys sometimes, which I'm going to do here with this next pick. Probably going to make Phil a little upset. We kind of fight over this guy. So I know it's not going to make it 2 picks back past me. And I kind of like him basically more than all the guys ahead of him. So Mr. A.D. Mitchell.
There he is.
Welcome,
there he is.
Welcome to the Rastaholics, my friend.
There he is. Running with, camp speak, man. Alec Pierce is running with the ones. A.D. Mitchell's not. So give that a couple weeks.
He's not a starter. He's there.
He'll be there.
He'll
be there.
Get the value while I can.
He'll be there. Yeah, I mean,
Alex Pierce giving them cornerbacks a nice workout. 0 targets.
Exactly. Just want to keep 80 healthy. Don't pull a hammy or anything like that. So
hey, while we're in between in picks here, a little intermission, guys. Statistics say most of y'all, some of y'all, but it sounds like most of y'all are not already subscribed to me and Phil's channel. If you want to show us a little bit of love here, all right, I'm gonna do some shameless plugs. I have
please do.
Phil's the homie. I have been loving doing some collaborations with him. Obviously, he's dropping some serious knowledge. Loving all the takes. If you guys want to take a quick, Phil's got his channel up in the chat there. Anyone who's not subbed, you guys have no idea how important it is. It's a big deal for all of us. Please do go sub to Phil's channel. Helps him out a ton. Tells us what we're doing right and wrong. That's my boy Jersey J. Thank you very much. Anyone who's not, maybe everyone is, but if we can get,
it doesn't cost anything.
It's free.
I want to see 12 out of 12 sub to Phil's channel. And I'll drop mine in there as well. But much appreciated to all you guys.
It is also in the description, guys, for those who are watching later.
Indeed. And seriously, big shout out. Thank you guys for all the support, whatnot. If you guys have any types of content that you want to see us come out with, now that Rasta Classic and the rest of the fine gentlemen at the Get Right Fantasy Network have lovingly welcomed me and Phil with open arms, we've starting to get a pretty good roster of people that can create content. So if you guys have stuff that you want us to put out, a particular format, a particular type, hop in the sleeper chat. Let us know, message us. There's lots of ways to reach us. The sleeper channel is a really good place, but let us know what you want to see. Even if you guys are open for like a Q&A episode, we can easily do that for a live stream too. So just let us know. We'll keep it going.
I would just add on top of that really quickly. First of all, appreciate the plug, Kendall, and Fantasy Football Tavern, Kendall's hot takes and cold beers. So that's always a good time over there. And I do a lot of collaborations with him. We've got a cool series actually we've done together where we're talking through startups, best and worst picks in kind of sections, so different rounds. So definitely go and check those check those videos out. But the last piece then is like Kendall said, we've done team breakdown. So if you want to break down like custom trade plan, hey, here's my team. Should I be trading? Should I be holding? What should I be doing with these guys? Like, we're happy to put content like that together for you. That's what we live for. What? Jahan Dotson? Get out of here. That's stupid. Why is he on the board? Well, you just made the team. Thanks, buddy.
Little post-hype sleeper action.
Oh, did you time out? Is that what happened?
No,
Oh,
I was just looking at receivers and I was like, nah, there's nobody great down here. I was like, what, Dotson? Give me that in the 12th round.
Hey Phil, talk us through this next pick. Who you don't have to say who you're hoping to hang. I know those guys are live in the chat, but talk us through your thoughts on the next pick. It's always kind of fun at the turn, kind of hearing your thoughts as you analytically break it down. What are you looking to do with your next two picks?
I mean, at this point, what I'm looking for is players that I realistically think could become a starter. So that's why I took Dotson there. He already is a starter. Number one. Number two, we really like the upside with what we think Jaden Daniels is going to be. Obviously, we know Cliff Kingsbury's a little bit crazy, but we like his pass call. We like his play calling. We like the pass heavy offense that we expect him to run. So to me, I'm looking for guys that could by week fill-in could actually score points for me. Could be a flex as a weekly consideration. Somebody who, if there was an injury, I know Scary Terry, I don't see him on the board, but I'm sure he went in the 5th or 6th round, right? He's 7th. There you go, 704 there. So, which actually I think is a good value. Yeah, exactly. So to me, like, I'm looking for guys that are going to be able to break my lineup, are going to be able to, crack my lineup. I don't want to take Russell Wilson here. That's just gross. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
So I don't.
No, I'm not going to do it. And then the gamesmanship, right? Like, I'm also looking. I'm on a short turn, so I'm kind of looking at the guys behind me, right? Like, who do I think that they're going to take? Who do I think will get back to me? I kind of screwed up my last pick. I should have taken Gus Bus, and Dobbs probably would have got back to me. It's fine. All right, Bo Nix, let's do it. But yeah, I'm just looking for guys that I realistically think, in the case of a bye week situation or an injury, that would actually score me some points.
There it is.
There it is. We got some questions in the chat here. Just throwing it up there. We got a little KTC, a little keep trade cut non-dynasty edition, right? This is a redraft, I guess, technically, given what we're doing ADP. Actually, give a little bit of both. We'll do like a redraft version, but then a dynasty version. Shakir, Samuel, and Coleman. What do you guys think? Let's go to Phil here.
Redraft first.
Yeah,
redraft. I think to start the year, it's going to be Curtis Samuel. Remind me the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Joe Brady had him obviously in Washington. He specifically brought him there. If my memory's right, I think he was a pretty early signing for them in free agency. In fact, I think he was one of the earliest.
Yeah, he got
signings.
paid. Remember, he got paid at the time.
And look, money.
And
it doesn't matter. yeah. Well, there's that.
And never played in Washington.
That's exactly right. But I do think early in the season, obviously we expect it to be Kincaid and Cook, and obviously Josh Allen's legs are his biggest weapon, especially for the red zone. But I think it will be Samuel early on. I expect Coleman to ease his way into the offense. So by mid-season, I think it'll be Coleman as the primary guy. In Dynasty, I have it Coleman simply because of the age and the upside. If you have Samuel on your roster, if you have Shakir on your roster, it's great. but it's not someone. Kendall, you and I talked. We did a whole show last week for an hour on trades. I'm not trading for either one of those guys. It's not someone I'm targeting. If I happen to have them on a roster, I'm excited because, like I just said, bye week fill-ins could be a good player for you. They will score points. But if it's a dynasty format, give me Keon Coleman.
Ross, I know you're up quick, but any chance you can give us a quick little keep trade cut here?
Yeah. For me, redraft wise, I'm taking my chances. Probably, I think I have Coleman probably the number one out of all these guys. I would trade Samuel because he seems to be being drafted as the number one guy. So I feel like he could have some trade value. And then I guess in that case, I'm cutting Shakir. But had you told me just 2 or 3 months ago, I probably would have had Shakir as my keep, or at least I probably would have had Shakir as my keep until I saw Coleman get drafted. So, I mean, it's really in the air. I think Shakir will hit it off in the beginning, but if Coleman is the potential guy, I think it could easily shift over, to him. So it's just a tough wide receiver.
I saw a tweet the other day that said, I don't remember the exact week, so someone fact check me on it, but I think it was after week 11 or 10. Khalil Shakir was the Bills' leading wide receiver every single week.
Yeah,
so it doesn't shock me.
87% completion percentage. I mean,
he led the NFL in catch rate.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I traded him for him in Dynasty as just a nice depth and kind of a third flex kind of option there. Just because of that potential. It was before the draft, of course, but it was looking real good pre-draft.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm kind of in on Curtis Samuel. Whenever I see an offense that has that many vacated targets, it tells me that they don't just fill the targets with where they're going, but the offense fundamentally probably changes because the personnel is so drastically different. Mm-hmm. I love the gadgetiness of Curtis Samuel, the ability to pull some end arounds and some interesting things. Again, the Bills have a Chiefs problem, and I think they try to copy some Andy Reid from last year. And I do think some touch passes and things like that to Curtis Samuel, I do think they're going to scheme him up. And he's not disappointed in recent memory when he gets those gadgety type of plays. If anything, we complain that he's only fire on the gadgety stuff and he's lacking in other areas. I think now that he's got a more consistent quarterback, I kind of like the upside of the gadgety stuff, plus just a regular, 5 for 50 line, and then what's on the upside with a couple carries here and there, something on. You guys think similar, or is he a little bit of fool's gold?
It's like Debo light. I mean, that's what we just talked about 30 minutes ago about Debo, right? It's not just that he's a wide receiver. He can line up in the backfield. He can take a jet sweep to the house, right? So you're not getting that same kind of yak. You're not getting that same kind of high ceiling, but in the 12th round as your 1, 2, 3, 4, as your wide receiver 5, great pick.
Hey, what do you guys think? Team 12, Jersey J, thanks for hanging out with us, by the way. Not drafted with us, but coming out to hang. We like it. Someone's got to drink a beer or two with the tavern over here. Loving the late round picks. What do you guys think too? Really solid way to end a draft. Kind of surprising value there.
Since Phil's coming up on his pick, I'll answer this one. So I think, I like the Palmer pick late, just nice pick, wide receiver one there, attached to Herbert. Offense, they're going to have to throw. Defense isn't great. We've talked about it all kind of off season. So just great value I think you're getting there for the potential upside. And then kind of an easy drop. The problem is in redraft, you're probably not going to have real trade value with them. So he's probably someone you're drafting and you're probably in your league with him just because, unless he's really balling and you can kind of include him as a piece for someone who gets hurt, I just kind of see him as one of those guys who's just going to be an asset on your team. And then I like the Cooks pick. He's been someone I've been kind of targeting in best ball, just super late, especially if you're going with some risky wide receivers in the mid rounds there. Some of those just weekly upside type guys. It's nice to have a guy like Cooks there later. That's just going to maybe get you a nice little solid floor. And then we Kendall and I, we talked about this kind of all off season. You and I were constantly fighting over Ty Chandler there. We know the injury history with Aaron Jones, RB1 over there now. We know Kevin McConnell likes to throw the ball in this offense as well. And they've talked about getting the ball in his hands. They did pay Aaron Jones a bit there. But again, he's not a workhorse. I think they both I think he actually really even has a chance to be like the goal line back there as well too, and still get some passing down work. I just kind of like him as an overall back there, and we've seen him have a full workload. and he's produced with it as well too. So I think he nailed kind of those last 3 picks there. After Daniel, I'm not as excited on Daniel Jones as Jersey J was in the chat, but I'll take everything else.
Daniel
What
Jones
did I
is not
say?
excited on Daniel Jones.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, not excited on it. Did I misspeak on that one? Did I say him, or are you just agreeing there?
No, I was just making a joke. I was just making a joke.
My drink's empty now, guys. It's getting late. The drink's
no.
empty.
You said he nailed his last 3 picks after Daniel Jones, and you're like, Daniel Jones is not exciting, and I was like, Daniel Jones is not excited about Daniel Jones. Like,
oh yeah, okay.
It's like the Chuck Norris jokes, right? Like,
oh, there we go. All
yeah,
right, sorry.
I would just say in this 14th round, I actually wish this was going to go one more round, and I want to bring up a couple players here in this 14th round. Someone put it in the chat. I don't know who it was, but Jersey J, Tyler Algier in the 14th. That's a steal. I mean, that to me is a phenomenal pick. He is the best handcuff in the entire NFL because we've seen him do it. Guy rushed for 1,000 yards his rookie season, and this is a much better offense with a different offensive, play caller from Los Angeles that we like coming over, obviously with Raheem Morris. So love Algier there in the 14th. Ty Chandler, I think, is going to be great because Aaron Jones misses a lot of games. In my pick, I'm sorry, I don't normally talk. Anyway, not supposed to talk about our own teams, but I was between Marshawn Lloyd and Jalen Wright. That's why I said I wish it went one more round because I was also looking at, you guys know I love me some Roman Wilson. But Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is a great pick late because if Josh Jacobs misses time, there is a clear path, and I think he'll be involved anyway. So I think there's some guys late on here that are in less ambiguous situations, but have a clear path to playing time and relevance if there's an injury or if they just happen, like you said, Rasta, happen to get the goal line work or have some sort of a pass catching profile.
Right. So there it is. So we got Joshua Sanderson here saying thanks for hosting the mock gents. Would love to hear your initial reactions of this team. He's Pasadena Patriots here drafting in the 7th spot. Since you guys won't be here on Monday when Frank and I are going to really break it down and give our grades, you guys want to quickly look that team over and get your thoughts on quick take on Team 7 there?
Ask and you shall receive. Phil, you need a second? You want me to run with this or you got it?
Oh, that was my bad. See, you were doing such a good job hosting that whole time. I forgot to throw it to somebody.
Yeah, no,
I got it. I learned from the best, bro.
There we go.
I think I haven't done a full peruse of everyone's team, but I got to tell you, obviously I'm a wide receiver guy. The wide receiver room's sexy. That's just sexy room, right? You got Tyreek, who is obviously going to be potential candidate to be the overall wide receiver 1. You have DJ Moore, who was a wide receiver 1 for the first time in his career last season with a better quarterback. We've talked about Debo. Neighbors is your wide receiver 4. There's volume. Volume is king in fantasy. Obviously Kyler and Caleb. So you've got some correlation with running quarterback for Kyler. And then with Caleb, you have a mini stack there with the skinny stack with DJ Moore. I would rather Monty be my RB2 because of Gibbs, but I like it. So yeah, I think it's a good team. I think this is for Pasadena Patriots, probably going to be scouring that waiver wire pretty early for a running back or potentially trading. I think that's the area of the team that I see. Like, I'm fine with Pat Freiermuth. I mean, for a late 13th round, that's fine. But
maybe second in targets on the team there potentially.
It could be. That's what I mean. So yeah, I think that's fine. But like Jerome
Ford, that's his RB2 week 1 right there.
That's his RB2 week 1, exactly. But like Dobbins, we don't know what it is, and Javante's, the jury's still out.
That's the one I didn't like on there.
Yeah, so I like the team a lot. Actually, I think it's a strong team. If the running backs can stay healthy, if he can make a trade, or he can get the new hotness off of the waiver wire or somewhere, I think he pushes for the playoffs. With that wide receiver room, that's hard. That's hard to compete against.
1 out of 100. I don't like the ABC scale. I think it's a little too narrow. 1 out of 100. Big test grade here. Where would you put him at compared to, an average draft?
It was a little better because I'm always like B plus. Like I kind of put it in that range where I could just give an 87 or an 88 and feel a little more accurate about it. I like that scoring skill. Go ahead, Phil. I just thought
that number actually. Madden, that's a big score in Madden right there.
Right.
I was going to go at that like really high 87 to 88. It's exactly Ross and I. Ross and I's brains are scarily similar, but
about the same. Yeah.
If the running backs were there, if he had
flip one pick and
if you took James Cook over Debo, because I liked Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, and Malik Neighbors, and I think Ridley as a flex is fine. If he had taken James Cook over Debo, I think that pushes him up because of the pass catching upside in full PPR. I think that pushes him to a low A.
I think I'm close on that. Debo was such a stupid value at the 5.7.
That's why it's hard.
There's
but I
no
was
way
looking
I
for
could
guys
do
that are
that.
right next to him.
I'm debating between I would either take Walker over Neighbors. Just the offensive ecosystem could be a little bit rough there, but Walker, you know, it's not necessarily huge upside. For me, it's actually probably I would take Swift over Ridley or Walker over Neighbors. Just flip one of those, and then Dobbins is a luxury pick. That makes sense. And I think because it's a 3 wide receiver league, you're going to flex in PPR a wide receiver. It's going to be Tyreek, Moore, Samuel, Neighbors, you know, and then sure, you want a little bit more depth if you can there, but you're actually worried about a starting position. You're worried more about your RB2 than your flex spot for the most part. So I think I would just flip one of those picks. For me personally, I think it's flip Ridley for Swift, even though I love Ridley. I love him at that spot. It's between the Walker and Swift. Pick up one more of those to give yourself just a little bit more solidness at RB, but it's really thin. I wouldn't flip many more picks.
Well, Rasta, what if, because you said you didn't like the Javonte pick, and that's obviously one that stands out to me. What if it's Zamir White or either of the Pittsburgh boys over Javonte? Does that change anything for you in terms of the grading scale that you're giving?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, since I took Warren there, if I would have seen Warren on this team, there in that spot, but I honestly think like, I mean, it would have been nice, of course, if Connor maybe he got sniped for Connor right there, but I honestly think just going back to all of it, and you'll get my full breakdown on Monday. But to me, David Montgomery is one of those what I call villain RB build. Like he's one of those latest guys that I would take to really push that RB1 limit, because I think, again, part of the offense that he's on, the fact that he's going to get the touchdown upside, and he can score 10, 13 touchdowns, still not really touch Gibbs, let him still finish high as well too. And just if you're that heavy on wide receiver and these early quarterbacks, especially with a running quarterback like that, you still have that advantage. And I think you can get away with Demont there.
But in general, we're
RB build.
We're giving him like a B+, A-. It is a very good. It's not just good. It's past good. It's a very good draft. It's format proper. It's a 3 wide receiver, PPR, 1 flex, and it's hardcore wide receivers. You nailed the format, and it has upside. Yeah, I'm giving him about a 90. I'm really, really happy with this draft.
And the last thing, it's hard to draft from the middle. There's so many picks going off either side of you that you can target a guy, you can look at a stack, and it's just very realistic. It doesn't get back to you. So really good job drafting from a difficult spot.
For sure. You guys want to do one quick more? Uno Gas asked for it. He's always down. He's here, man. He supports us a lot. I know he'll be back here on Monday for Minor Breaks Breakdown, but let's let him get your guys' take here tonight. We'll do JWN as well, Team 2. Let you guys get a little breakdown in there since we finished up pretty fast. We're just past the 1 hour mark, as long as you guys are cool with that. And then we'll kind of end this thing here. So,
Phil, you want to take one? I'll take the other
first. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'll take Uno Gas here since I've been staring at it for a couple minutes. I mean, the two things that stand out to me right away is the rushing upside in the quarterback room. Obviously didn't take a third quarterback, but I'll say it again, 66 quarterbacks played last year. Joe Flacco is probably going to be relevant. You know what I mean? Like someone will emerge. So I'm not stressed on that. Hero RB build with Gibbs. Correlation, obviously, in the stack with Jackson and Andrews. Evans, Dell, McLaurin, and McConkey I like. I would have taken Deontay Johnson over McConkey because I think the volume's going to be there. I know Bryce Young's not sexy and nobody's excited about it. I think the hype on McConkey is too high for redraft for me personally. I think in Dynasty, it's a different conversation. But to go get Gibbs early and then still come back with a starter in Moss, I think Trey Benson's a second half of the year league winner. So I think that's a phenomenal value. And Blake Corum, Kyron misses games. So I like this team a lot. I would put this team, honestly, pretty close in my ratings to Pasadena Patriots. The only downside for me, I would have taken a third quarterback over Dallas Goedert because you have Andrews. So, like, to me, you can go and find, I don't see Isaiah Likely's name on here. If Andrews gets hurt, you can stash, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can go find somebody. So that's, to me, the only caveat of, like, could you have found a third quarterback? So other than that, I think it's a strong B+, A- team. And I like it. I think it's a good group.
Nice. And before you get into Oh yeah, before you get into JWN's team there, Kendall, I just want to say on that, only one more quarterback went off the board, which was Russell Wilson to me. So really, he didn't really miss anything. So whoever you wanted to get off the wire, he's still probably going to be there.
Yep,
Whoever
for sure.
was at that
For sure.
spot. But anyway, I don't know why.
Oh, he's an Eagles fan.
I don't know why
he
I'm
put in the
being
chat here.
Oh, okay. There we go.
And again, I'm not saying it's a bad pick.
Yeah,
it's not a bad pick. It's just, you've got one of the top tight ends in the game. So yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine.
For sure. All right. So go ahead, Kendall. Break it down.
All right. Hey, you got to love drafting at the 102 when you can grab yourself some Josh Allen. Hey, sometimes you draft early and you get a Josh Allen, right? That's that's going to move you up. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So got to take that win. If I look at it overall, just from like a macro perspective, right? We don't have an elite wide receiver room. It's very consistent. It's very stable, all given roles. So we definitely went in on some stable guys up front, and then the later picks ended up, with Pollard, Elliott, we Levis and May. So of the last from the 9th to the 14th, we're only drafting one wide receiver there. Picks I love. Hawkinson at the 13-2. Absolutely in love with it. I do think if I'm taking Hawkinson at the 13-2, though, I would have preferred to fade a 7th round tight end. I think if I'm going, like I was looking at BG on a Scully's draft, like if I can get Bowers at the 10 and Hawkinson at the 3-2, which is if I'm grabbing Hawkinson, I think I want to grab one more tight end, but I want to go a little bit later. So I'm not loving the correlation with Ingram and Hawkinson, but at the same time, I think the idea was he wasn't planning on Hawkinson. It was just there, and it was an absolute steal. So I do like that a little bit. Overall, I think the wide receiver room lacks a tiny bit of upside for me, but I love how solid his running back room is. I mean, Saquon Barkley has top 3 upside. Mixon is an incredible value. If he gets the snap share that I think he can in that explosive offense, Mixon also has, I don't think he has top 5 upside, but I do think he definitely can finish comfortably at like the 7 through 10 range and have that definitely be a value pick there. So when I look at the draft, I see a lot of value. I see Kupp is probably the highest upside guy. At 5'2", I think Kupp can actually be his wide receiver 1. And then Deontay Johnson at the 8'11" is probably one of my favorite later on values. So the overall wide receiver room is very good. I think I would have probably flipped maybe the Roman Wilson pick a little bit later on. I feel like the later it gets, the more that running back dart throws have the highest upside compared to wide receiver.
Agreed.
Just in general. So from that perspective, I would have slightly shifted up some of the later rounds. But at the same time, it is sort of what you might call a fragile build with just 4 RBs, but they all have a pretty guaranteed role. But it's more stable than it is upside. So I'm gonna knock the draft a little, and I just call him Jaywin. I'm not sure what his actual name is, but John. Okay, John. John is John is a fan. Okay, that is John Nickel. Okay, awesome. I haven't seen him do a bad draft. I think his worst draft I've ever seen him do is a B. I mean, that's so he's always extremely solid. This is a good draft too. He will make the playoffs 100% of the time with how stable he is. That's just kind of what I see from the draft. I do think if I'm going to be hypercritical, I think there's a chance that it is a second place build versus a first place build, and it's lacking a little bit of elite upside. So if I were to give it advice, I'd say hit the waiver wire hard. This is a team that is so stable. You want to fab dump the first high end, huge upside player that comes along, drop and go big for it. That when the Puka of this world comes around, don't think twice, just go crazy, because you are looking for a little bit more top end upside, I think.
Yeah, I want to just 2 quick things on this. Mixon is the only running back in the NFL to finish as an RB1 the last 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah, the only time he's not finished as a top 13 wide receiver or running back is the year he only played 6 games.
Right, and
other than that, he's basically played the entire year, so he's been pretty much healthy.
Yeah,
and never finished worse than RB 13.
Yep.
And PPR except for after his rookie year. But
yeah, I think Mixon really belongs in the Rashad White, James Cook, Pacheco tier, in my opinion, with how much upside he has. I think.
Yeah, but he is dealing with a hamstring right now, and he's old, so we'll see how that works out.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
I love how we call these guys old, and we're older than all of these guys.
Oh, for sure. We just mean in
realize
football
that?
years. Yeah, football years.
I want
Yeah,
to.
you guys mean by easy 10 years. Yeah.
I wanted to get to this before we wrap up. This is
Yeah.
this is a good one. We all trade London and Pitts for MHJ in a dynasty Superflex tight end premium. So London and Pitts for Marvin Harrison Jr. Kendall, what are your thoughts there?
Ooh, what are my thoughts here? London and pitch for MHJ Dynasty Superflex.
I feel like I could have got 2 firsts out of that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I love MHJ for sure, but it's a start 11. In start 11, that's kind of where it crosses the tier of having multiple premium assets is valuable and viable. I mean, MHJ is amazing, but I do think right now, I mean, if you're doing that trade, he has to be Jamar Chase for it to make sense, especially since it's tight end premium, right? Yeah, it is tight end premium. So Pitts has some pretty elite upside there. I mean, I think it's a fair trade. I would just rather have the London Pitts side. I think MHJ, if he has a very good season, but it's not Jamar Chase, I think his dynasty value takes a pretty significant, he's just not worth every first rounder for the next 10 years, which is absolutely where he's at right now. I would, if I'm trading for MHJ, I wouldn't do it now. I just don't think his value is at the absolute ceiling. I mean, how high can it go? What is he going to be better than ASB and Jamar Chase? Because he has to be.
Higher.
It could go CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson.
I think he needs a
Marvin
quarterback
Harrison,
that's taller than Kyler Murray to give him 150 target upside. I mean, I'm being serious. I just don't think Kyler Murray has it in him to throw that many catchable targets.
You don't think he gets 150 targets?
I mean, if he gets to 100, he's not getting 151. We'll put it that way. If you know what I mean, it's his range of outcomes has 150 in it. But I think it's a little bit of an outlier.
I might take that bet. We may have to. You and I.
You
may
want to
have
water
to
bet
debate
this?
that. Yeah, I might water bet that.
I'm super in. All right, chat.
Figure out 1 second.
Punishment.
Because in 2020, D-Hop's first year there with Kyler,
I was just looking at
160 targets, 115 receptions, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns. He could get there.
I think he can get there.
PPR wide receiver 4, so
don't hear
he's
what I'm
done
not
it.
saying.
I mean, we've seen him do it. It's not even like we got
to
a wonder. Like he's done it. He's produced a wide receiver.
Are you saying you're taking the bet? So you're saying it's a greater than 50% chance that he gets there. I'm saying it's like a 30%.
I'm saying I'm taking.
I mean, we're talking one of the greatest wide receivers, in his prime. I mean, it is still MHJ's rookie season. I'm just saying
it's not an anti-MHJ take.
Kyler's capable of it. Just MHJ's not there yet.
I don't think MHJ comes down with that catch that Kyler threw to win that game. You know what I mean? Like D-Hop is D-Hop, dude.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna get spicy. I would take this trade personally. I don't know what the rest.
I want at least a second though with MHJ.
I don't know what the rest of the team looks like. I think we've got the role saying starting lineup is stacked right now. I have Pitts on my bench, so that's what I was going to ask. Is like, all right, if you move off of Pitts and tight end premium, do you have Chico Conquo as your replacement, or do you have like someone that's more competent?
Are you sitting on like Kincaid or something?
Yeah, right, exactly. Did you go like super bully tight end and McBride's your next guy up, right?
Well, not even. It's been a couple of years, or you could have acquired Pitts and someone traded him low last year.
Exactly.
So many options.
So
yeah.
What I have a hard time with the whole Caleb Williams is the next Patrick Mahomes. Like I have a hard time with anointing, Marvin Harrison Jr. the next guy until we see something. But I see the path. I see the talent. I like Kyler. We've all seen Kyler support D-Hop. We saw him support good wide receivers in the past. So I just think the ceiling upside of Marvin Harrison Jr. over London is not even in question, even with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. And then at the end of it all, like, guys, you guys know this about me. Anytime I have a chance to say go Gators, I will. So give me Kyle Pitts all day. But we haven't seen Kyle Pitts do what Kyle Pitts was drafted to do yet. So I'm with you, Rasta. I might counter it and try to get something out of this, but the tight end premium makes it a little bit more challenging, but I would take Marvin Harrison Jr.
I guess I was reading it as a full tight end premium. If it's just like the half point bump, that's not significant for me. If it's that full extra bump, though, man, I don't know. I don't know.
The role, throw in the chat if you're still in here. Who's your say, because he's talking about who his team is he's got Pitts on the bench. Who's your other tight end? I want to know who it is, because that really helps me answer the question.
Let us know. While you're at it, who wants to give me a 30-second take, or who just broke down JWN's team?
That's me.
Okay. So, Phil, give me your 30-second take on the 12 spot, Mr.
Gene Scully.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers. I like all of them. I think they're all solid. Obviously, JJ and Cooper and Higgins are your starters. Look, I don't know what's happening with Rashee Rice, so Hollywood, especially the first half of the year, could be very valuable and could be a nice trade away candidate if you need another piece. Bowers, to me, is the question mark. What's he really going to be? We don't know yet. He is a hybrid wide receiver. That's how they're planning to use him. But what's the quarterback situation in Vegas? Not great. So that's probably the only knock for me. Tua just got the bag. Trevor Lawrence is it's going to be longer than 30 seconds. I'm a little bit down on the Jaguars. I've said this many times. I just don't like the way that they're trending right now. Gabe Davis is not an upgrade over Calvin Ridley. He is a massive downgrade. And Christian Kirk, I think, is fine. I like Christian Kirk, but I just think in that division, it's going to be the Jaguars as a third place team at best. And that's probably, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they're going to be winning as many games as people think they will. But I think Trevor Lawrence will have a fine season. I think it's a good team. And honestly,
maybe some garbage time work there.
Could be some garbage time work. The challenge, I think, for me with this group is are you ever going to get ceiling out of Tua and Trevor? Probably not. So you've got 2 QB2s, in my opinion. I don't think either one of them cracked the top 12 this season.
There you go. Kendall, 30 seconds or so.
On Team 12?
Yes, sir.
Man, honestly, it'd probably take me 10 seconds. I love the running back picks are stellar for me. And going with the fragile, that's fantastic. I think Justin Jefferson is a massive value. And then the quarterback situation is, like Phil said, it's less than ideal with Lawrence not having maybe elite upside. But you to pass on that, you got Justin Jefferson and Bijan at the 1-2 turn. So for me, I'm fine having a stable quarterback that won't bust, but won't, explode probably. But I know my skill position players are absolutely elite. I would take that trade-off. If I knew that's kind of how this was going to go down, I still think I'd trade off. I really love the team. I think running backs for me, it's not that it's the foundation. It's just how you can really screw it up at running back, I feel like, for the most part, and you can get boxed out. And that just fell really, really nice for him. And I like that he didn't double dip at tight end. Look, there's tight ends on the waiver wire that I love. Gesicki is still available on the waiver wire. So if Bowers is getting 3 targets game 1, you're like, all right, this isn't not it. You can go to the waiver wire. I'm glad they took Chandler at 14-1 instead of just a backup tight end. Well done draft. 90 out of 100. It's nice.
Very nice. There we go. Can you guys give me 10 seconds on Dem Boys, and then we'll close it out here? 10 seconds.
100 out of 100. A Rich at the 108. Game over.
There it is. What about
he could have 0 players and just have 1 guy in his starting lineup, and Kendall would still give it an A.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, George Pickens, Coleman's, BTJ, Myers, Q.
Anchor wide receiver build. I love Williams and Cook together. Kittle, high B+ on first glance. Yeah. Richardson, Herbert's a sleeper. Yeah, I think it's great. And Tyler Algier at the 14.05. Get out of here. That's stupid value. All right, there you go. Hey, and you guys know we'll break this thing fully down on Monday. Just want to give you guys a little taste of Monday's episode, so make sure you come tune in with us live, 9 p.m. Pacific. It is a little late. What is that, 11 o'clock Eastern? But you can always watch it, first thing Tuesday morning when you're waking up. Get your breakdowns on the teams. And, of course, as you see, we get into the draft construction and everything about, the mock and how it goes down and how we can help you guys when your mocks start rolling out. So speaking of which, I'll roll it over here to you, Phil, really quick. Why don't you tell the folks about our sponsor who made this all happen here tonight over at UnderdogFantasy.com.
Yeah, so y'all know Underdog Fantasy is one of the best and easiest places to play fantasy sports. From their best ball draft tournaments, obviously means you're going to be drafting for your season. No long-term commitments, no waivers, no trades. Y'all know how this works. No weekly lineup setting. Rasta, our one and only, placed 42nd out of 70,000, turned his $4 entry into almost 400. You can obviously jump in if you're not just looking for best ball. You can go ahead and look at their pick'em contest where you pick higher or lower on player stats like total yards, touchdowns. So visit underdogfantasy.com, download the fastest growing fantasy app from your app store now. When you sign up, use the promo GETRIGHT, GETRIGHT. When you do, you'll be able to claim a special pick'em. You'll get a 50% deposit match up to $250. If you deposit as little as $10, you'll get $5 in bonus cash. If you deposit $5, you get $250 in bonus cash. So what are you waiting for? Download the app, use the promo GETRIGHT, jump in the draft and entry pick'em contest today. If you do, don't take my money.
Hey, I'll just add real quick. If you're
always a
nervous
sucker.
about jumping into Underdog as well, you've got the Get Right team over here. We're fanatics for Underdog. I said Rasta's done very well. I've been quite profitable in Underdog. Phil is very adept at it. If you're unsure about dipping a toe in, look, dip the toe in. You got help. You got friends here. We do a lot of live streams. We do a lot of recorded content. We'll get you to a place where if you're kind of doing low money buy-in leagues and you don't want to jump off a cliff with Underdog and get too crazy, we'll do it with you. It's going to be okay. We'll do it together. We'll do it as a community, and together we'll take down some tourneys.
For sure. And we have been running, there is a playlist here on YouTube. Check out our playlist, and there is a best ball draft playlist. So go check those out. We've done some puppies. We've done some chihuahuas. We've done a couple best ball manias. There's still more to come. We're usually doing those live on Wednesdays. I couldn't make it this last Wednesday, but Frank and I have been pumping those out. We were doing them Mondays, but now they'll be on Wednesdays. So yeah, make sure you guys tune into that. And I think I'm about 50 in so far. I think Phil, you're well over 100 this year.
Couple hundred
so far. So yeah, you've been getting crazy these last couple of weeks, man. That's awesome. So yeah,
this is the first year I've ever
you.
done the big tournaments.
Ooh, let's go.
It's so I'm throwing.
It's exciting, man.
I'm throwing some of those 150 max entries and just shooting my shot, and we'll see what happens. So yeah,
for sure. All right, guys. So make sure you guys check that out. I do want to give you guys the full screen, man. I really appreciate you guys coming out here with me tonight. Why don't you tell the folks, if you are watching on Get Right Fantasy, make sure you guys go check out and subscribe to these guys' channels as well. The links are down in the description. We post them. They're in the chat as well too. But let me throw it over to you here first, Mr. Kendall. Tell the folks where they can find you and what you got going on your channel.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for coming out and drafting with us, hanging out in the chat tonight. Really appreciate you. If you like the way I break down teams, make picks, or if you just want to hang out and like talking football with a couple beers, come over on YouTube. Check me out at the Fantasy Football Tavern. We do a lot. In particular, if you're checking me out, I do a lot of buy low, sell high. Do a lot of dynasty content. Gonna be coming out with more redraft stuff coming up, and do a lot of series on the best and worst picks round by round as we try to solve the Rubik's Cube every year. That is the draft board. So I also have Patreon. So if you want to come support the show, help me get the production quality up there a little bit, help us make more videos, I think you can check all of us out there. But YouTube at the Fantasy Football Tavern. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. Got to catch up to Rasta Classic and the rest of the guys. So we could use all the love and support. I'm sure I will give it back in spades, guys. Appreciate it.
For sure. And of course, let's throw it over to you here, Phil. Tom, where they can find you and what you got going on the Extra Point.
Yeah, definitely come check me out on the Extra Point. You can see the logo up in the top right-hand corner of the screen.
Nice.
I am live every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We go through a ton of Dynasty content. Obviously, as we get a little bit slower in the Dynasty season, we're starting to shift the focus to redraft and best ball. Love to have guests on the show. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, anything you want to hear more of, shoot me a DM at P Ruskin on Sleeper, and I'll be sure to get your stuff into a section of my show or do a video specifically for you. You can listen on Spotify or Patreon, the Extra Point there as well. And then this Thursday coming up, my live show, I'm actually doing a mock draft as well, where we will also continue to help promote Get Right Fantasy Network's big mock draft tournament. So we got 12-man league, full PPR. If you are interested, all you got to do is shoot me a screenshot that you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll shoot you the link, and we'll get you in that mock draft this Thursday, the Extra Point.
For sure. And are you guys possibly covering one of the mock drafts next week? Is that still... Oh, okay. So you guys, if you guys get those mock lobbies next week, you don't know which one. One of them might be live streamed. So normally you got to make it to the Friday finale to make the live stream. But these guys might pick up one of those. So keep your eyes and ears out for that. All right, man. Again, I had such a blast here with you guys tonight. Sorry to keep you so late, but I know the three of us could probably talk football for probably 4. We literally do. Like this is just an extension of our text chain that we have going on, where we're actually going to talk in person instead of thumbing it out. And then it basically goes right back to the text chain as soon as we get off. So yeah, man, we love doing this for you guys. Make sure you guys are checking us out. Season's popping up here real soon. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday will be our schedule. It's down there below. From all of us over here, I Get Right Fantasy, man, we appreciate the support. Keep hitting that subscribe and like button for us. So other than that, man, unless there's anything else you guys have to say, we ready to close this bad boy out?
Roll that sweet outro, baby.
Let's do it, baby. All right, man. We'll see you guys here on Monday when we give our feedback and our draft grades. Happy hunting, man. Football next week. Peace out.
Later.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking often, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.